Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing today? This is Con Ulrich coming to you with something a little bit different. It came to my attention after watching a bunch of replays and everything like that, that there are occasionally teeny tiny gaps in some of the skills that we display as characters, and I thought that maybe while I can't do all the time necessarily in my own games, if I could help some of you guys out there see some of the pitfalls that I've come across and see hopefully a way to kind of counteract them, we might be able to together begin to dominate some of these beautiful, beautiful maps. And look at this stonework. Dominate some of these beautiful, beautiful maps and more effectively become a company of heroes to armchair generals. I will say this is done with the help of my lovely assistant, Mr. Awesome is here. Mr. Awesome is here is near and dear to my heart. For those of you out there who don't know, actually, he's my brother, so he took a couple minutes out of his life to kind of give me some material to work with. So, folks, in our first episode of this particular, let's call it learning sessions together, we're going to be looking at how to take care of MGs and garrisons, or even more precisely, attacking garrisons when they are, effectively defended. This is a house. In many different ways, there are many like it, but this one is not yours. This belongs to the nameless peasants in Angoville. It is a very valuable defensive position for anybody bright enough to get their hands on top of it. And who might that be, do you ask? This vile man right here. In this particular case, this is a German machine gun team. And who are the good guys in this particular case? Well, of course, that's going to be our riflemen over here. These are the good old boys, armed with their M1 Garands, and soon having the ability to pick up pineapple grenades and smoke grenades for their devastation pleasure. While we wait for our first unfortunate victims to be charging forwards, let us please note an exploit that I hopefully will encourage you guys all to use. If you ever want to know whether or not a house is actually garrisoned, you actually can click on it through the fog of war and you can find it out. This has been tested now several times by myself in multiple different avenues. You can see, for example, right here for machine gun is clearly in garrisoned, while this one right here, of course, is not. Well, what does that mean, though, for our own assaults? Well, that means that if you don't pay attention and see something like that happen, you could end up with something like this happening. Our brave troops move to the front, and you're going to see them try to push forward, and oh my gosh, we're going to see the machine gun's going to take them under fire almost immediately. You see within the first burst, within about 2 seconds, the riflemen are already brought under fire, and within 10 of actually seeing the enemy machine gun, they are now pinned. And stymied, they are forced to retreat. How could this have been accomplished a little bit differently? Well, had these boys been in cover, you do see that they are able to stay up and actually on their feet for a few seconds longer, and despite the fact that their brethren were taken under fire and so very quickly pinned, you see that right now instead we are going to see that after 10 seconds still on the map and still being in the firing arc of this machine gun, they are still suppressed and able to give fire. So I guess the first moral of the story is, if you must come under fire from a machine gun, that you do it while you're in cover. Cover will keep you fighting a lot longer. You see now it's taken almost 30 seconds for them to actually be pinned behind even yellow cover. It's not even spectacular cover, just moderately good cover. Now the question becomes, how could that have been accomplished better? Obviously, you don't want to run your troops into a curtain of fire every single time you are out on the map. So it leaves you with really a couple of choices. The first of these is what I like to call a flank and tank. The benefits of this particular maneuver is that it allows your opponent, well, it forces your opponent to really make a decision about which one to engage. Yes, it is true that a machine gun has a beautiful field of fire, even more so while in a garrison. But if you have troops approaching from two different sides, in this particular case down the road, even in negative cover, or through this kind of, little farmyard area, you will notice that your troops do tend to survive an awful lot longer because it does force both the machine gunner to aim in a particularly different direction. Let's see a different tactic used. Yes, we are going to see these riflemen will draw some firepower very, very quickly from this machine gun. And once that happens, you will see them very, very quickly get down, being suppressed by the machine gun. But something that is very, very different about this particular case, the usage of smoke. I'm going to pause this right here for a moment so you can see this. Do notice that if smoke goes down, yes, it does block line of sight for you to the north, but you know where the enemy is. The machine gun in the house does not know where you are, and can very, very easily be approached close enough so that a grenade might go in the window, seen here. And though it doesn't necessarily guarantee your opponent's death, it will mean that you tend to live to fight another day. While important to note that 1 or 2 grenades at a time will not destroy an entire garrison by itself, the cumulative effect will encourage your opponent to either put his troops outside of a given garrison, or force him to eventually lose them as the house takes more and more damage and will eventually collapse. There is, of course, another mode of clearing out garrisons that we have not yet discussed. A very, very simple one at that. Indirect fire. So while seeing that the machine gun is in fact inside this house right here, the usage of indirect fire such as mortars or pack howitzers or any particular sort of matter like that that can be done at a distance is infinitely preferable to using your troops in either flanking maneuvers or otherwise. Keep in mind though that taking out the garrisons will remove your own attempted usage of them. Short on munitions? Using a mortar has another excellent opportunity to it. Using the fact that those smoke rounds gives you free shot blocking capability if you know a garrison is manned one way or the other. An important thing to note though, however, is that smoke dissipates awful quickly, and dropping smoke will definitely alert your opponent to an imminent attack. Although sometimes that warning comes just a bit too late. And I know what you might be thinking. But Khan, if I go and put my troops, if I have to go and start attacking a house again and again and again, it's going to take forever for me to actually go blow it up with grenades. Well, one thing that we have not yet covered, the fact, is that grenades and explosives of all kinds are more effective the smaller the building is. So please note, in this particular case, the one-story building right here. Though smoke grenade has already been deployed, riflemen might be able to get forward just in enough time to throw a grenade on the garrison. Do take note of the difference in health. Taking down the enemy machine gun almost to 60% health in pretty much no time at all. Now, the question I might hear you asking me is, well, Khan, what can I do to make my machine guns that much more effective? Well, the first thing to do is don't put your machine guns necessarily in the garrisons. You'll see a lot of top-tier players maybe putting a kind of holding squad in a house for a little bit of time and plopping in a very, very early machine gun. But the later and later the game goes, the more and more difficult it will be to actually hold on to that building, both because of accumulated damage, as well as due to how much longer it takes machine guns to get out in the face of things such as either flame grenades or incendiary grenades or grenades themselves. And to illustrate that, I'm going to have Mr. Awesome put a machine gun squad in this house right here, and we'll see what his reaction times are in trying to get out before his troops are grenaded. It is important to note that I have not given Mr. Awesome any sense of timing about when I'm going to leap around the house. All that I've instructed him to do is to watch that garrison in particular. And whenever he sees me make a move to nade the house, he is to bug out as absolutely soon as possible. And the grenade comes out, and he's still trying to go and pack up his gun crew, and you do see that he pays for his temerity. He loses 2 models off of his squad just about immediately. Now what happens if we put a regular infantry squad in there instead? Of course, as both guys line up for the starting point, again, I have told Mr. Awesome just to watch this house and to get out as soon as he can. This is assuming an absolute best scenario for your opponent. Note how much quicker it is for the Pyos to leap out before they can be attacked. It's my hope that in this particular case we now know how to attack a garrison, and if you should have more questions on how to do so, I am intending to put out some more videos on maybe on the proper use of machine guns, on the proper use of indirect fire, and moving forward I definitely hope that you guys can learn from this as much as I. big thank you to Mr. Awesomeness here. I do appreciate all the support he's given the channel in his own time. And I hope we can welcome him back with some other material. So, folks, this is going to be Con Ulrich signing off. Take it easy and good hunting.